Book of Heaven, Volume 11. The 22nd of January to the 19th of February 1913. Page 46 to 50. January 22, 1913. The Triple Passion of Jesus, of love, of sin, and from the Jews. The fall of Jesus into the Cedron torrent. I was thinking about the passion of my always adorable Jesus, especially of what he suffered in the garden. I found myself all immersed in Jesus, and he told me, "My daughter, my first passion was of love, because the first step with which man, in sinning, gives himself to evil is the lack of love. So, since love is missing, he falls into sin. In order to be repaid through me for the lack of love of the creatures, love made me suffer more than anyone. It almost crushed me, more than if I were under a press. It gave me as many deaths for as many creatures receiving life." The second step that occurs in sin is defrauding God of his glory. So, in order to be repaid for the glory taken away by the creatures, the Father made me suffer the passion of sin, such that each sin gave me a special passion. Although there was one passion, I suffered for sin as many passions as there would be sins committed until the end of the world. So, the glory of the Father was restored. The third effect produced by sin is the weakness in man. Therefore, I wanted to suffer the passion from the hands of the Jews, my third passion, to restore in man his lost strength. Therefore, with the passion of love, love was restored and placed at the right level. With the passion of sin, the glory of the Father was restored and placed at its level. With the passion of the Jews, the strength of the creatures was placed at its level and restored. I suffered all this in the garden, and the pain was so much, so many the deaths, the atrocious spasms inflicted upon me that I really would have died if the will of the Father for my death had arrived. Then I began to think of when my adorable Jesus was thrown into the torrent Cedron by the enemies. Blessed Jesus made himself be seen in a state that evoked pity, all wet by those filthy waters. He told me, "My daughter, in creating the soul I covered her with a mantle of light and beauty. Sin removes this mantle of light and beauty, placing a mantle of darkness and ugliness, rendering the soul disgusting and nauseating. In order to remove this mantle, so filthy, which sin puts on the soul, I allowed the Jews to throw me into this torrent, where I remained as if covered inside and outside of myself, since these putrid waters entered even into my ears, into my nostrils and into my mouth, to the extent that the Jews were disgusted in touching me. Ah, the love of creatures cost me so much that it rendered me nauseating even to myself." February 5, 1913. One who does not do the divine will does not have right to anything. She is an intruder and a thief of the things of God. Difference between divine will and love. This morning my always adorable Jesus came like shadow and lightning, and told me, "My daughter, one who does not do my will has no reason to live on earth. Her life becomes without purpose, with no means and with no end. She is just like a tree which is incapable of producing any fruit. At the most it can produce poisonous fruits with which it poisons itself more and more, as well as anyone who would imprudently eat them. This tree does nothing other than steal the poor hard work of the farmer, who hoes the soil around it with hardship and sweat. In the same way, the soul who does not do my will is in continuous act of defrauding me, converting those thefts into poison. She is around me to steal from me. She steals from me the work of creation, the work of her own redemption and sanctification. She steals from me the light of the sun, the food she takes, the air she breathes, the water which quenches her thirst, the fire which warms her, and the ground she treads, because all this belongs to the one who does my will. All that is mine is hers too. On the other hand, one who does not do my will has no rights. So I feel as if being continuously robbed. One who does not do my will has to be held as a noxious and fraudulent stranger. Therefore, it is necessary to chain her and throw her into the deepest prisons." Having said this, he disappeared like a flash. Another day he came and told me, "My daughter, do you want to know the difference between my will and love? My will is sun, love is fire. My will, like the sun, does not need food, nor does its light and heat grow or decrease. It remains always equal to itself, and its light always most pure. On the other hand, the fire, which symbolizes love, needs wood in order to be fed, and if the wood is missing, it can even be extinguished. It grows and decreases according to the wood that is placed in it. Therefore, it is subject to instability, and its light is gloomy, mixed with smoke, if love is not regulated by my will." After he said this, he disappeared. A light remained in my mind, through which I could understand that the will of God is like a sun for the soul, because the actions that are done as actions wanted by God form one single thing with the divine will, and, there it is, the sun is formed. The human actions and the soul's entire being united to the divine action and being are the wood which feeds this sun. Therefore, the soul herself becomes the wood provided by the divine will, but this wood is not like the wood which feeds love. It cannot be lacking. This sun has no need for food. It does not grow or decrease. It is always equal to itself. Its light is most pure, because it takes part in everything. The divine being and the divine wood are never extinguished, and are not subject to smoke. I won't explain further, because I think that the rest, regarding love, can be understood by itself. February 19, 1913. The divine will is like opium for the soul. The creature does nothing other than want Jesus to do everything in her. Continuing in my usual state and having received Holy Communion, my always adorable Jesus told me, "My daughter, my will is like opium to the body." The poor patients who have to undergo an operation, the severing of one leg or one arm, are put to sleep with the opium. With it, they will not feel the sharpness of the pain and, after they wake up, they will find themselves with the results of the accomplished operation. If they haven't suffered too much, it is thanks to the opium. Such is my will, the opium of the soul, which puts to sleep the intelligence, the love of self and the self-esteem, everything that is human. The opium of my will does not allow displeasure, slander, suffering, or a state of interior pain to penetrate deeply into her, because it keeps her as if asleep. But with this, the soul still finds herself with the same effects and the same merits. Even more, oh, how much she surpasses them, just as if she had deeply felt that suffering. But with this difference, opium for the body has to be purchased and cannot be used often, or every day, and if a person wanted to overuse it, he would become dazed, especially if he is of weak constitution. On the other hand, I give the opium of my will gratis. It can be taken at any moment. The more often the soul takes it, the more light of reason she acquires, and if she is weak, she acquires divine strength. After this, I seemed to see people around me, and I said to Jesus, "Who are they?" And Jesus, "They are the ones whom I entrusted to you some time ago. I commend them to you, watch over them. I would like to form this bond of union between you in order to have them always around me." And he pointed out to me one in particular. And I, "Ah, Jesus, have you forgotten about my misery and nothingness, and the extreme need I have? What shall I do?" And Jesus, "My daughter, you will not do anything, just as you've never done anything. I will speak and operate within you, and I will speak through your mouth. If you only want it so, and if there is good disposition in them, I will offer myself for everything. Even if I should keep you asleep in my will, I will wake you up when necessary, and I will let you speak to them. I will delight more in hearing you speak about my will both in vigil and in sleep.